Hey everybody, my name is Landon Miles, and this is my presentation on what I learned about leadership. This course really showed me how my past experiences influence the way that I lead today, so I'm going to share the biggest things that I've taken away from Dr. Dar's course. So I now have three main takeaways about leadership. First, leadership is about building relationships. It's not just a solo act. Second, everybody has influence, not just the leader. It takes a community for leadership to work. And third, my personal strengths naturally guide how I act as a leader. So let's take a look at each one. So let's take a look at leadership as a relational process. Northhouse defines leadership as an interactive process. For me, leadership is built on relationships, influence, and shared meaning within a community. This resonates with my personal strengths. My relator strength helps me build deep connections. Empathy provides emotional understanding for those I lead, and individualization allows me to tailor my interactions. The social change model supports this. It connects leadership to values, collaboration, and self-awareness. So my second core value is that everyone influences the process. Northhouse's initial definition of a follower is kind of passive. They say it's someone who goes along with the movement of the group and is seen as a listener, not a contributor. However, I've learned that being a good follower means contributing to the greater outcome of the group, which strengthens the community's value. My strengths, combined with the social change model's focus on citizenship, help me notice individual contributions and ideas can improve group outcomes. Even a follower can significantly influence a community's outcome for better or worse. This shifts the view from just a leader's power to the collective influence of an entire group. So the third lesson that I chose was strengths shape leadership behavior. Clifton tells us that leadership is rooted in natural talent patterns. When leaders recognize their talents, it increases their authenticity and effectiveness within a community. My strengths include ideation, which drives creative problem solving, and competition, which raises performance standards. When blended with empathy and relator, which are also two of my strengths, this creates a people-focused but driven leadership style. This is directly tied to the social change model's value of consciousness of self, understanding personal values and behaviors. So let's talk about how my view of leadership changed. So let's look at some of the things I thought I understood going into leadership. There were three key things that I thought I could execute very well, which were communication, motivation, and conflict management. So my initial assumption of motivation was that it meant just simply encouraging others, and I found out that's not exactly the case. There's a lot more to it. I learned that motivation is rooted in shared values and purpose, and it has to be individualized. I plan to grow by recognizing that the one-size-fits-all motivation doesn't exactly work with everybody. I have to understand the individual drivers that are behind everybody in order to effectively lead a team in the real world. So now let's look at communication. My initial view of communication was that it was about speaking clearly and conveying a point. Now I know that it's a two-way process, kind of a send-receive method, that requires human skills like listening and adapting. And how I'm going to improve this is by keeping an open mind and adjusting my approach depending on who I'm talking to. So now let's look at conflict management. My early mindset on conflict was that it was negative and it was something that I needed to avoid or quickly resolve. And the new practice that I've adapted is that controversy with civility can be healthy tension and improve like a group mindset. Effective leaders use problem solving and emotional intelligence to manage conflict. So I plan to grow in that way by balancing my feelings with solutions rather than letting one of my strengths, which is empathy, lead to over-avoidance of conflict. So now let's see what I need to change and how I'm going to adjust. So my goal is to transition my old habits into new practices. This means I need to build habits of reflection, feedback seeking, and self-awareness, adapt communication styles to different personalities, and approach conflict with openness and not avoidance. These changes lead directly to my biggest takeaways. Leadership is flexible, not fixed. It's an influence, not a title. there is no single right leadership style. It changes based on context and relationships. And most importantly, leadership equals learning, adapting, and reflecting. Reflection drives growth and causes behavior change, which makes a good leader great.